To all the new subs out there, welcome to my channel. I feel that it's only right that I reintroduce the story of how I manifested contact from someone after not hearing from them for 5 years because so many of you guys are new to this channel. And in my mind, I'm thinking everybody knows that story on my channel already, but then I realize I'm getting new subscribers all the time. So some of you out there might not know the story of how I was able to manifest contact from someone after not hearing from them for 5 years. Long story short, I had a breakup in 2013. After 2013, around 2014 or so, is when I stumbled upon Law of Attraction, Law of Assumption, Abraham Hicks videos, Florence Scovel Shinn videos, and eventually Neville Goddard. I had never really heard stuff like this. I had kind of heard about it, but I never really studied it before, so I never really looked into it, but I heard about the concepts. And so from basically 2014 up until 2018, the beginning of 2018, I was just reading a bunch of LOA content. I was inundated with LOA content. I constantly studied, constantly read books, was constantly listening to YouTube videos, but I wasn't taking any action really. I was just living my life because a huge misconception about my story is people think that I was actively trying to manifest someone back for 5 years. That is 100% not the case. I was not actively every day or every week for 5 years doing LOA techniques to try to manifest somebody back. I was living my life from the time I was 23 up until 2018. I had gotten into real estate around 2013. I had dropped out of college and I had started my real estate investing career. During that time period, I was just focused on real estate. I was just focused on money. I was just focused on enjoying my life. Wasn't worried about manifesting an ex, but I was looking at all of the content out there and enjoying the content because when you first find out about LOA techniques, there's this excitement you get and you get this kind of light bulb moment where you say to yourself, I knew life was easier than I was making it. I knew there had to be another way, another road to take. And when I found out about Neville Goddard and LOA and Florence Scovel Shinn and all these great books, these great teachers, I realized, yes, this is the missing piece. This is what I need. However, like many of you out there, I was only consuming, but I was not practicing. So around 2018, at the beginning of 2018, it might have been a little bit before 2018 or right in the beginning of 2018, I got serious with myself and I said, Marv, you're going to test this. Like Neville says, you're going to test this and see if this is going to come true. So I came up with a routine and I came up with a visualization. My routine was always self-love first, using different self-love affirmations that were specifically centered around me. Self-love affirmations such as I am loved or I am loved, I am important, I am a priority, certain things like that. Because a lot of times when people are by themselves or when people get out of a relationship or whatever the case may be, people don't look at themselves as a priority and they don't feel like a priority and they don't feel love. They don't think that they are loved and all of the above. So I think it's important to retrain your mind in a healthy way, not using these types of affirmations from a narcissistic type of way, but to really use these types of affirmations to start to build a solid foundation on who you truly are. Because when we start looking at it and we start paying attention and our awareness increases, you start to realize that 100% you are those things. My affirmations were never centered around another person. I never did none of those affirmations you see on TikTok from certain creators or YouTube from certain creators, making your affirmations all about the person that you want to manifest back. I wasn't that guy. To me personally, using those types of affirmations, it shows how desperate you really are. And when you use those kinds of affirmations, in my opinion, for most people, I'm not going to say everybody because sometimes those affirmations work for people wherever your state of consciousness is. But for me, those affirmations put me in a low level state of consciousness. It made whoever the person was the priority instead of making me, myself, the priority. So I never said stuff like, oh, my person is constantly obsessed with me. They're thinking about me 24/7. They're texting me all the time. They're getting ready to text me. I never said none of that bullshit because to me, frankly, that's exactly what it is. It's bullshit. I mean, those types of words just reek, absolutely reek of desperation to me. But hey, if it works for you, go for it. Use it. I also was able to mix some Ho'oponopono in it as well with the self-love affirmations. Those two things were mainly my solid foundation that I laid. And then after that came my living in the end scene, or SATs, as a lot of you like to call it. Whenever I would do my routine during 2018, because I didn't do it every night, I did it maybe a couple times a week, maybe two, three times a week. Sometimes I feel like I would let longer than that pass, almost a week pass, and I didn't do anything. I was not on this strict way of doing these techniques. I pretty much did it when I felt like it, or I did it when I felt good, when I was in a very good mood, because I think that just enhances whatever affirmations or visualizations you have when you're feeling really good and you still do this stuff. However, that might not be the case for you. When I was doing these visualizations and affirmations, 5 years had passed. So remember that I was not in a desperate state doing any of these techniques. A lot of you guys are fresh off of your situation with whoever you were dealing with, and you guys feel like you are in such a desperate situation and you need to absolutely manifest this person back. So you are doing your visualizations or your affirmations, in my opinion, a lot of times from a place of lack instead of from a place of knowing. So each of you have to look at your situation individually, in my opinion. Me, I was in a place where I didn't feel the need to have to do affirmations or visualizations or whatever 24/7. I was in a situation in a space where I was not mentally obsessed with a person or trying to get them back. So for me, I was able to get away with doing stuff 2 days a week, 1 day a week, or 3 times a week, or whatever the case may be, whenever I felt like it. Some of you out there, you are in a position where you may need to, especially when it comes to self-love, or especially when it comes to therapy, or getting your mind right, getting yourself grounded, your nervous system grounded. Some of you guys need to do a lot more work than I did in order to fix this situation between you and the person that you may be trying to manifest back. So I think it's important for me to clarify that, because a lot of you are not in the situation that I was in. You have to manifest, in my opinion, according to your situation. After I did all of my self-love affirmations, then came my sat scene. Whenever I decided to do my routine, my self-love affirmations always came first, and then after that, my sat scene. And whenever I did my routine, I would typically always do it at night, right before I went to sleep, as I was going to sleep. So I would just lay in bed 10 minutes or so before I went to sleep, and I would just say my self-love affirmations. As I got closer and closer to actually going to sleep is when I would start looping my sat scene, which I'm getting ready to get into right now. So I would say it was maybe 80-20 or 90-10. That last 10 minutes or so, 80% of that time or 90% of that time was spent doing my self-love stuff. Then that last 20% or that last 10% was spent re-looping my sat scene. The sat scene that I came up with was something very easy, something very believable. This is something that I pretty much recommend for everyone, especially when it comes to collapsing time and space as fast as possible. You got to remember, I have not seen or heard from this person in 5 years. Why would I be doing a sat scene of me being in a relationship with this person, or me being married to this person, or something drastic like that? All I wanted was to see if I could get contact, period. Because like Neville says, test it. And that's exactly what I was doing. And furthermore, Florence Scovel Shinn says, when this is done correctly, you won't even have to come up with your end scene. The superconscious mind will flash the end scene to you, and you'll know what end scene you're supposed to use, instead of sitting there mulling it over for days, if not weeks, and trying to figure out what your living in the end scene is. Because I know a lot of you out there have living in the end scenes that you are constantly changing. One night you'll do this living in the end scene. Next night you'll do another living in the end scene. If you're doing it that way, it can still work, in my opinion. But if you're doing it and you have the same end scene, you're planting the seed and you're allowing it to be able to come into fruition a lot quicker. But if doing a different living in the end scene every night or whatever works better for you, do it. If it helps you create that feeling, because we all know feeling is the secret and feeling is what really matters. And as far as I'm concerned, Florence was right, because that's exactly how it happened for me. I wasn't mulling over an end scene trying to figure out what is my living in the end scene going to be. My living in the end scene kind of just flashed to me. I went to sleep one night, as they talk about, I think Joseph Murphy mentioned this. I went to sleep one night and I just asked for the answer, in a sense. Give me my end scene. Relatively quickly, it popped in my head to simply just get a text message. That was the thing that was most believable to me at the time, and the one thing that could help me collapse time and space as fast as possible, which that could be different for you. Again, I'm giving you my story. So the superconscious had flashed an end scene to me that said, get a text message. And then the text message was very simple. It said, hey, Marvin, it's me, blank. I'm not going to tell you her name, but it said, hey, Marvin, it's me, blank. And it had been said in the form of a question. That was literally it. That was the question. That was the text message that the superconscious flashed to me. And my state akin to sleep scene was born. Whenever I did my routine, I would do my self-love affirmations. And then right after that, like I said, falling asleep, I would do my living in the end scene, which was this text message I got. I imagined myself, I was in my room, and I imagined my phone going off. And then I imagined picking up the phone, turning it over, and looking at the message saying, hey, Marvin, it's me, blank. And then I immediately had this state of shock. and my heart started pounding. I immediately texted my good friend and my real estate partner, and I said, yo, you're not gonna believe who just text me. That was my living in the end scene, and it took about 5 to 10 seconds for me to loop through that scene one time. So at least once or twice a week before I went to sleep, that was my routine. And I would loop that scene right before going into sleep or as I'm drifting off into sleep. I did that for all of 2018 up until October. At the end of October in 2018, I was literally in my room. It had to be close to 11 o'clock at night, maybe even later than that. I don't remember exactly what the time was, but it was dark. I definitely think it was after 10. My phone goes off. I go to pick up my phone and I look at my phone. I'm thinking it's my real estate partner or somebody else texting me. I look at my phone. It's my ex. And I was like, holy shit. And I looked at the phone in shock and my heart rate started pounding just like it did in my end scene. And I immediately went to go contact my real estate partner and good friend. And I said, yo, you're not going to believe who just texted me. I did not have her number saved in my phone, but I knew what her number was, and it did not change after all of those years. And so as soon as I seen the number pop up in the text message, I knew exactly who it was. So from that initial text that she sent me, that was the setup that allowed everything else to come after that. The apology that I had always wanted, the explanations that I had always wanted, and all of the above. I received all of that, all from the initial text message that I got simply saying, hey, Marvin, it's me. After this situation happened, there was no doubt in my mind that law of assumption is very real. However, we do not know when, where, and how it is going to happen, which is why we constantly reinforce do not worry about the how and the when. Some of you out there may be asking, Marv, why did it take 10 months? How come it didn't happen sooner than that? And my answer to that simply is, I don't know. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about LOA is we're always supposed to know the answers. We're supposed to have the answers on why or how something happened in a sense. And I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't have the answers on why it took me 10 months to get this manifestation to happen for this person to contact me again. You guys have heard me in my videos talk about Neville mentioning a horse takes 12 months for it to be born. A human being takes 9 months for it to be born. Basically, he was alluding to our manifestations have their own fruition time that is out of our control. I actually made a video years ago saying we all have to give the universe time to move the chess pieces instead of us trying to move the chess pieces. Yes, we can to a certain degree move the chess pieces, but the universe has more power and knows ways that we don't know consciously. In this situation, I had to allow the universe to move the chess pieces in order for my person at the time to contact me. Because without giving away too much information, what made this person contact me is she was in the hospital at the time and she saw the first 3 letters of my area code when she was in the hospital. And that made her reach out to me. Why? I have no clue outside of I saw Marvin's area code of his phone number, and that's what made me reach out to him. But outside of that, she still didn't have to do that. But something made her want to reach out to me. She could have saw that area code that my number started with, and she could have just thought nothing of it. She could have just said, oh yeah, there's whatever, there's the area code, or but something inside of her, and I remember her telling me at the time that I was on her mind for whatever reason. All the time after she saw that, I was just on her mind. So again, to me, in my opinion, that is the universe moving the chess pieces, because had she had not gone into the hospital, would she have reached out to me? I have no clue. That is a question I would like to know the answer to. Maybe she would have reached out to me eventually in a different way, or something else would have caused her to reach out to me. I still think it would have happened. When would it have happened? I have no idea. Her going into the hospital for sure sped things up. And this is exactly what we want to do. We want to help all of you speed things up when it comes to whatever you want to manifest, particularly if you're trying to manifest somebody back into your life or someone new. Key takeaway from this video: have a routine that is built on a solid foundation that puts you at the center of it, not someone else, but you. And I mean in a healthy way, not in a narcissistic type way. You don't want to do these I am affirmations for yourself in a narcissistic type of way. You want to do it in a healthy way to really build strong self-love that radiates out. And when people feel your energy, they don't feel like, oh, this person is a narcissist. They feel like, oh, this person has a healthy relationship with themselves. I want to be a part of that. That's how you become a magnet. Number 2, let your superconscious mind give you a living in the end scene that is actually fathomable. Many of you out there, in my opinion, are slowing the process down of hearing from the person you want to hear from, whether it be new or old, You are slowing that down because you are creating end scenes that you cannot fathom. And you are trying to fathom it, but you cannot because you are trying to will it. And as we know from the great Emil Quay, your imagination will win every time versus whatever you are trying to will. So you're trying to will this living in the end scene of you being married, but your imagination keeps replaying the end scene of the last time you and your person got into a fight or how things ended or whatever the case might be. Your imagination is playing something negative that is what you really believe and feel versus what you're trying to will with your new words or your new visualization, and it just won't work. I tell people all the time, all you really want from somebody old that you're trying to manifest is contact. So if that's all you really want is contact, even if you do want the relationship will come after the first initial contact. You should be only focused on getting the contact first. Just like me in my situation, I got the contact first. And then once you get the contact back, all of that other stuff is going to follow. You don't have to, people say, oh, go to the end. That's too hard for most people to do. That's extremely advanced going to the end for a lot of you out there. Going to the end, in my opinion, is a hindrance to a lot of you out there using Neville Satz technique. Just get that initial contact. In my opinion, you should be coming up with an end scene that allows you to get the initial contact you want. And then from there, allow everything else to come into fruition naturally from that one point of contact. Outside of all of that, this, my fellow viewers, is how Satz should really be done.